So when I break down all of these different technologies and all these different aspects and elements that are impacting and influencing change, I really look at 4 core filters. Empower. Empower is all about giving users control. Every iteration over the past few years is leading towards this idea of empowerment of the individual and control. Next is exponential. Exponential is all about the rise of intelligent systems. This is all about the rise of data, algorithms, and all the other key elements tied to virtual assistants, and I'll talk about different levels of autonomy with exponential. Enhanced. Enhanced is really that connection between physical and digital reality, and it's focusing on when our environment is going to adapt to us versus us adapting to it. The final section is a new section. It's called experience. Experience is how we evolve our mindset to fully understand all of the shifts and changes that are happening around us, and how can we capitalize on these specific changes within our individual businesses. All right, let's start with empower. And again, empower is all about control. We're going to talk about Gen Z. We're going to talk about how the lens is life. We're going to talk about private messaging, and we're going to end on this idea of a bridge to intelligence. But again, it's all about this behavioral expectation that we have to control our experiences. So these are my kids. This is Gavin, Audrey, and Grant, 20, 17, 14. They're part of Gen Z. Gen Z is 1996 to 2010. They're part of the first mobile first generation. They basically learn to swipe before they learn to speak. And their specific expectations around technology and experiences are having a significant impact on how experiences and business will be done. They currently represent over 40% of consumers. 40%. And again, their behaviors have a significant impact. Let's start diving into it. So let's talk about gaming for just a minute. 96% of Gen Z games. The question isn't, do you play? It's, what do you play? They spend an hour and a half a day in virtual worlds, inside of games, inside of basically developing social communities. It's a way to interact. It's a way to connect. And I'm partial to it as well. I've been a gamer since I can remember, and I've instilled that in my own kids. My oldest son, Gavin, is a professional esports athlete. And again, it's been a big part of our family moving forward. Now, why does gaming matter from a technology perspective? What you're seeing are basically the foundational elements of the metaverse starting within gaming. You may or may not have heard the term metaverse. Basically, 46% of people have actually heard the term, even less know what it actually means. Think about it as the internet in 3 dimensions, in 3D. It's basically taking all these various collections of communities and experiences and expanding and enhancing them. So games like Fortnite that you see here on the screen, what you're seeing is an example from the Travis Scott concert that happened in-game. 28 million people viewed this across devices. So 12 million viewed it in-game. Others watched it via other platforms, whether streaming platforms, etc., via Twitch, YouTube, and others connected in different ways. But what you're seeing is accessibility, you're seeing community, and what I see in my own kids is it's a way in which they communicate with their friends. So again, Discord is a huge part of this now in terms of the community aspect of it as well, gaming on PC, console, or wherever with cloud-based gaming, very important. Now, as you think about what's happening with Roblox, it's really interesting. Roblox doesn't necessarily call itself a gaming platform anymore. It's more of an experience. 43 million people log in daily to Roblox. And you're seeing a number of brands really driving into the creative aspect of the game. Now, when I met with the Epic creative team at the last Fortnite World Cup, we were having a conversation, and one thing that blew my mind is that as people play Fortnite, most people think of it in the traditional battle royale sense. 90% of the interaction happens in the creative mode. And that truly is amplified here within the Roblox platform. Because what it actually is, it's a user-generated content platform. You have very young individuals who are learning how to code and craft and create these experiences. And they can monetize those experiences. So what you're seeing on screen now is Nike Land. So you're seeing Nike now taking and driving their own avatars, showcasing real world physical products, applying them to digital avatars. And essentially there's an entire economy that's developed around this. I think my own son spent a few $1,000s on Fortnite skins over the course of a few years. And what's really interesting, there's more social clout in virtual Jordans than there are physical now. Just think about that. Me as a kid growing up in the 80s with the original OG Jordans, like that blows my mind. So taking a step back and understanding, going from the metaverse, you may also hear the term Web3. Now they're two different things, but interrelated in some way. So let's dive into this a little bit. Web 1 was the original web. Think about, building out your GeoCities page. It's very much read-only, HTML driven. Then we had the rise of Web 2.0. This is the participatory web. This is where you see the rise of big tech. Facebook, now Meta, Twitter, Snap, Google, all of these other platforms that are really driving, consolidating the data around you as an individual, trying to figure out seamless ways to interact, give you contextual marketing along the way. Web 3, what we're moving towards is the decentralized web. What that essentially means, again, bringing it back to the foundational idea within Empower, it's all about control. You control your data, you control the different experiences, you're controlling all of the information that exists around this, and you're controlling your specific currency with cryptocurrency, etc. So when you think about the differences between Web 1 and Web 2 and Web 3, and how that then interrelates to the metaverse, Web 3, you may have heard of the term blockchain. Blockchain is essentially distributed ledgers that essentially can take and authenticate any specific transaction so you can actually tie and append ownership. You may have also heard the term NFT. So an NFT is a non-fungible token. Think of it as like a digital collectible. There's been a lot of discussion around this. Most NFTs are actually based on what's called the Ethereum blockchain. And you can purchase them with Ether. That's a type of currency. Now, NFTs are relevant from a marketing perspective. Why? Well, what you can do is you can append different elements or types of content within an actual NFT. It can be a membership. It could be a membership card. You can append music. You can append different types of content. So you can append physical items to an NFT. So there are so many different ways in which that this idea of ownership, of you specifically owning a specific item, is yours. So what you see on screen now, this is my specific NFT collection. So to the very far left, that's my very first NFT I ever purchased. I've minted a few over time. But one thing that's really interesting to me as I think about all the different use cases out there is really what StockX is doing with their Vault X NFTs. So their StockX Vault NFTs. So what's interesting here is that as they mint a specific NFT, it's tied to a physical object that's tangible. So you're not necessarily buying the physical shoe. The physical shoe is just associated with the actual NFT. Why would this kind of matter over time? Think about this from even purchasing of a vehicle. So imagine in the near future, you're actually purchasing the NFT and the smart contract is tied to that. And the physical vehicle just comes with it. But yet you're able to take your car and drive it through whatever other metaverse experience that enables or allows that moving forward. So as our world becomes more digitized, as we continue to blend between physical and digital, there's going to be a blending of these physical and digital objects, including our vehicles. Now, another element of this that we can talk about are called POAPs. They're basically, think of it like a virtual ticket stub. So instead of having that physical ticket stub in hand, you can actually take and associate with whatever specific event, and they become bookmarks of your life and of the various experiences that you've had. So you can issue these. They're a type of NFT, but they're not necessarily worth anything from a dollar value perspective. But still, from a marketing standpoint, you can take and highlight your specific event and associate in that way. Now, all of this again is moving to where we've got individual users, we've got different groups that are taking and controlling these kind of diversified organizations that are essentially taking and building up these different communities that are owned by these users. You can even purchase virtual land like in Decentraland, or create virtual objects, or pretty much do anything you want to in these kind of foundational metaverse-based experiences and drive it forward. But again, it's this idea of control. Now let's bring it back to us as the individuals and kind of our expectations for just a moment, beyond just gaming. So think about the camera. I think about the camera as a capture device. We take about 400 million selfies every day. Anybody take one in the last 30 minutes? Save space, it's okay. But for Gen Z, it's a communication device. It's about presence. It's about this constant ability to stay connected. My daughter Audrey, she will not make an actual phone call. Any type of communication she has is going to incorporate some type of FaceTime element in it. She wants to see her friend. Sometimes they'll just have the devices on, be doing other things, but still just be able to talk to that individual depending on what they're doing. And it's not just with video and communication. So 69% of Gen Z actually thinks of themselves as a creator. So 66% own their own YouTube channel, and 83% have played with some form of augmented reality filter. Why does this matter? A majority of these types of experiences set an expectation for what they're going to expect from brands and organizations moving forward as we continue to blend this line between physical and digital. One of the triggers I look for when evaluating technology and how it's going to truly scale is really the third-party ecosystems that are essentially tied to these emerging platforms and the level of investment being made by the organizations. So you think about different AR experiences like Spark AR with Meta, or you look at what Google is doing, or you look at what Apple is doing to enable third parties. This is a very key driver for how these technologies are going to accelerate and drive mass adoption, which is key. Speaking of mass adoption, private messaging has actually surpassed open social since like 2016. So the ability to take, most millennials actually expect to have a conversation with a brand. 69% of them want to have a conversation with a brand 24 hours a day. So they're okay with taking and driving a specific, connection. And within that single conversational thread, you're able to create hundreds of different types of ways in which to communicate and work through any type of interaction with that individual. From developing kind of a preference center and collecting information about what their key preferences are, to driving to a specific location. So if you want to drive to a retail location or specifically to an HCP or wherever else, that's fully feasible now. But not only is it about kind of communication and connection, it's also about integrating some of these elements of the camera into redefining how we shop, how we interact, and the expectation that we have, again, with physical and digital items. Here's an example from Kia, where they're able to take a Facebook Messenger or a Meta Messenger experience and actually showcase in a physical space what the potential car would look like. This is fantastic, especially during the recent lockdown, because then you could actually see virtually what the vehicle looked like. And it's not just about digital elements. Again, it's this combination of physical and digital. What you're seeing on the screen is a two-dimensional card that you're then able to take through basically looking through an iPhone and actually convert that into a gesture-based interface to where you can interact with it digitally. So this is going to be a continual theme as the camera becomes a bridge to intelligence.